All right, welcome in. Mount Polumbus Speaks here. We'll do a little daily debrief with you guys and got a few things to go over with you tonight. Combine is underway and the big boys started working out today. We'll start seeing the skill players working out tomorrow, and there's news leaking out. Sean Payton spoke at the Combine. George Payton spoke at the Combine. Travis Hunter spoke at the Combine, and there's been a few interesting nuggets that have come out from all of that. In terms of Denver Broncos news. And also there were some NFLPA report cards that came out. So these are player-driven surveys that rate how every team is doing, from food and nutrition to team and travel to owners to coaches, training rooms, so on and so forth. And the Broncos did relatively well in it, but there were a couple categories that I thought were interesting that they graded relatively low in. So we'll discuss that. I do want to talk about Courtland Sutton here a little bit tonight. I think it's important that the Broncos do go ahead and extend Courtland Sutton, and I'll tell you why as we get into the rest of the podcast here. And then want to talk about Travis Hunter just a little bit as we move forward. Before I get into all of that, as always, I got to take a quick second here to thank my sponsors. My title sponsor is Safeway, who does an incredible job. If you guys have not downloaded the Safeway app, I'm telling you, you're missing out. I ordered on the Safeway app today. They saved my order. I just add bits and pieces every time I go on there. It literally takes me 3.5 minutes to order every single week. I get to I get to redeem points that I get to save for money down the road. And you put the order in, they handle the rest. They're going to deliver it directly to your door. So skip the delivery service apps. Go directly to Safeway. They're going to save you money. They're going to save you time, and there's a difference in where you shop. Safeway's got fresh foods and local flavors, and they cut their fruit fresh in store every single day, so make sure you shop at your local Safeway. Also want to take a quick second to thank Ascend Barbershop. My man Alfred Castro over there has been cutting my hair now for probably 6 years. They're the only place I go to. Every now and then I go see Anthony over there as well. If you're in the Parker area, go check out Ascend Barbershop. It's a luxury barbershop. Once you experience it, you'll never go back. And there's a reason why I recommend them so much. So as we get rolling here, there's a few different areas that we could dive into. I'm actually going to change screens here and bring you guys into, give me 1 second as I fix something here. I'm going to bring you guys into the internet here as I fix my camera that is not working. Okay, I think I got it now. All right, that's not where I want to start. I want to start with the NFLPA team report cards. So this doesn't mean everything in the world, but I do think it's interesting because this is a player-driven survey. They started doing this 3 or 4 years ago, and the Broncos did not grade very well maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Every single year, especially with new ownership that goes by, the Broncos are doing better and better in this category. Let me find us here, Denver Broncos. Okay, so a few things. There are a couple areas where they do not grade well. One of them is in the locker room. Well, the Broncos are investing in I forget how much it's going to cost. It's like a $60 or $70 million new training facility that is getting built right now. So that locker room is going to go up to an A+, probably by next season when that thing comes out. Other areas that we could go over here, and I could speak from firsthand. I'm actually surprised that the Broncos only got a B+ in food and dining because of all the different teams that I played for. I played for Washington, I played for Seattle, I played for Atlanta. The Broncos by far had the best dining experience. They would serve you 3 meals a day. And I'm talking luxury meals, gourmet meals, as much as you could eat. I'm a little bit surprised they only got a B+ because in my experience, I would have given the Broncos an A+ in that category. But I don't know, maybe a couple things have changed. Good to see that they grade well, A- here with nutritionists and dietitians. I'm just going to scroll up so it's easier for you guys to look at. We already mentioned the locker room. They did get an F there. and I can tell you the locker room's tiny. So the current locker room that they've got right now, they did renovate it. Maybe actually it was the year after the Super Bowl is when they renovated it. But the space is just so confined. There was very limited things they could actually do with it, and players apparently feel like it's an F. If that was an F when I was there, it was an F minus, because that is a totally renovated locker room in comparison to the team we had in 2015 when we won the Super Bowl. Training room, they get a B. Training staff gets a B plus. Weight room gets a B. Now here's one that I thought was a little bit interesting. Why can I not expand this thing here? What in the world? Why can't I scroll sideways? What'd I just do? Palumbo's a Dumbo. Maybe if I make this a little bit smaller. Nope. That ain't working. Here we go. Okay. Let's go back up to the top. The Denver Broncos. All right. So one thing that I thought was interesting, the weight room for the Broncos, again, that's something that's going to be completely renovated once the new facility comes around, and that'll probably be an A+ in a year's time. But they did only get a C or a B- in terms of strength coaches, which was interesting to me because the new strength staff that they brought in, well, he's like the czar of all things sports science. Why am I losing that arrow at the bottom that I just had that I could scroll over? Why am I technology illiterate? Whatever. I guess we're not going to see the rest of it. The strength coaches get a B-, and when you compare that to these other grades here, you see that everybody that does these, players are doing these grades, and for the most part, they're terrified to give poor reviews of their teams. The strength coach, according to Sean Payton, is this czar that has fixed everything for the Denver Broncos. They got rid of Lauren Landau, a guy that I could not respect more, a guy that I worked with for my entire career, from the time I was 15 years old until the day I retired. I worked with Lauren Landau, and I know Lauren caught a lot of heat for the amount of injuries that the Broncos had, but they brought in this new guy, and he actually oversees the training room, the training staff. He oversees the physical therapy. He's the czar of everything, and Broncos players actually only give him a B-, which is actually relatively low in comparison to other teams. Not a big deal. The Broncos been very, very healthy. I got no beef with the strength coaches. I got no beef with the training staff. I think they're all doing a good job. It's just a relatively low grade in comparison to other teams. They do get an A on team travel. I can speak firsthand from that. The Broncos put you up in the Ritz. They put you up in the Four Seasons. They put you up in the nicest hotel in every town that you go to. Every player gets their own room, which is not always true about every team that you go to. Some teams will actually make you bunk up with another guy. Usually veterans don't have to do that, but the younger players will have to. The Denver Broncos, at least when I was there, gave their own room to everybody, and I'm sure with this new ownership group, they're doing the same thing. Now, head coach, he gets a B. Okay, you think B, that doesn't sound too bad, right? Well, why don't we grade that according to the head coaches? If you sort this thing, now we're going to go all the way down here, right? And a B puts you nearly at the bottom of the league. Believe it or not, there's only 1, 2, 3 teams that gave their coaches a C, and only one team that gave their coach a B-. I don't know what that means. I like Sean Payton, but apparently the players don't necessarily think of Sean Payton the same way that we do. Is a B a bad grade? No, but when you put it in comparison to everybody else and you realize that these are players that are grading their own coach and they're afraid that somebody's going to catch their own survey and they're going to get in trouble for it, it's a little bit revealing. And I think when you break it down in details, they've got other categories that this particular website is not showing right now, but they break it down by head coaches, time management. They break it down by do you feel like he's effectively utilizing your day? They break it down to, do you feel like your head coach is approachable? Is he willing to accept feedback? Will he actually change things based off players' feedback? So there's a lot of things that go into it, but kind of interesting to see Sean Payton in the same category as, Chicago Bears, Jaguars, Browns. Now, that being said, there's some damn good coaches. Baltimore Ravens, Jim Harbaugh, he gets a B as well. Sean McDermott from the Buffalo Bills, who I don't know how players feel about him, quite frankly. They might dislike that dude because they feel like he can't get him over the top. He gets a B as well. Okay. That's about all I really want to talk about with NFLPA report cards. I don't think it means a whole lot other than I just find it a little bit interesting to dive through. Every year it comes out. It's a big storyline, and there's teams that historically grade out terribly bad. The Cardinals are always one of them. The Commanders used to be one of the worst in the league. They jumped from like the 31st team all the way up to number 11. And then ironically, another team that does really bad here, I'll show you, in terms of player ratings, the Kansas City Chiefs. So it shows you this doesn't mean everything. The Chiefs have a lot of success, but look at these rankings from the Kansas City Chiefs. They're always at the bottom of the league. Locker room, they give it a D minus. Training room, they give it a C minus. Training staff, they give it a C. Weight room, they give it a C plus. Ownership, they give it a C minus. So Kansas City Chiefs, they do not like their facility. They do not like their ownership group. But guess what grades out very well? Head coach, A+. So what really matters? What matters the most? Does ownership matter the most, or does the head coach matter the most? For the most part, good ownership, generally speaking, always has good coaches. Bad ownership tends to have bad coaches. The Chiefs happen to be a unicorn where the players feel like they've got terrible ownership, and it's been this way for about 4 or 5 straight years now, yet they've got the best coach in the NFL, and they have a lot of success because of that. So these rankings clearly don't mean everything, but they are kind of fun to dive into. Okay, I'm going to transition here over to some combine news. George Payton, Sean Payton, they spoke at the combine, and I wouldn't say there was anything earth-shattering that came out of it. Obviously there was a lot of talk about the Joker role. We're all probably sick and tired of hearing about the Joker role by now. Matter of fact, George Payton kind of mocked the Joker role a little bit. He called it like they're trying to find the Loch Ness Monster. I think he's probably a little bit tired of it. But it's important to Sean Payton. So they're going to continue to pursue that thing. I would say one interesting nugget that I took away from George Payton, and he emphasized this multiple times during his presser, he said that one of the big priorities for this team is going to be bolstering that defensive line. That's a little bit surprising to me because when you think about this defensive line, you got Zach Allen, you got Jonathan Franklin-Myers. He did say that the team wants to bring back DJ Jones, nose tackle, who is a free agent right now. I would not be shocked if the Broncos don't actually bring back DJ Jones. I think DJ is a hell of a football player, and I think it'll be very difficult to find an upgrade from DJ Jones, but the position that he plays, it's not a position that you want to pay a lot of money to. So if DJ Jones is commanding a lot of money, I would expect the Broncos to actually go ahead and let DJ walk, but I do know that they want to bring him back. And then on the outside linebacker group, the pass rushers, which in a 3-4 scheme, it's technically different than the defensive line. In a 4-down scheme, you got your 4 down, right? And so all those guys are considered on the defensive line, but in a 3-4 scheme, it's really just your 3 guys that are in the interior, and then your outside linebackers, they're considered a part of the linebacker group, but those are guys that like Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper who feel like they're part of the defensive line. It's a weird technicality sometimes in a 3-4 scheme, but when George Payton is talking about the defensive line, my opinion, I don't think he's talking about that outside linebacker group. I think you got a lot of depth there. I think you got a lot of talent there, including some younger guys. But apparently George Payton wants to emphasize going out and getting some more depth on that defensive line. So that's one nugget that I did take away from it that I thought was a little bit interesting and just something to keep your eye on. Other than that, I thought Sean Payton talked for a very long time. Usually Sean Payton is a little bit grumpy when he gets up and he talks in front of the podium, but he was very comfortable out there at the Combine. Historically, he does speak for a long time. I think he went for close to 40 minutes, which is actually nuts. He talked for 40 straight minutes. We were trying to carry it live during our show, but he went so long we just couldn't possibly carry it. There wasn't anything overly revealing, though. These guys know what they're trying to do. They're very guarded. The things that they do say, oftentimes, those are things that they want the rest of the NFL to think. It's kind of a liar season once you get close to the draft here. But I love the Combine. I know you probably got to be a hardcore football junkie to enjoy watching the Combine, but I love watching these guys go out there and work, and I love watching the 40 times. I love hearing about the interviews, and one guy who had by far the largest media scrum when he was out there, no surprise to anybody, is Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is catching a lot of attention right now. I don't know what Travis Hunter's plan is going to be, and I'm about to play you some audio here from him. Originally, the report was that Travis Hunter was going to work out both as a wide receiver and as a defensive back at the Combine. Then he gets to the Combine, and he says he's not working out. Now, if I had to guess what I think that means for Travis, I think that means he's not going to do the 40-yard dash. I think that means he's not going to do the L drill. He's not going to do the bench press. But I do think Travis Hunter really wants to go number one overall. And I know for a fact he wants to go number one overall because he talked about how important it is to him to go number one overall. And if he does want to go number one overall, the one thing that does separate him is his ability to play wide receiver and defensive back. So although he might skip out on the 40, he might skip out on the rest of the workout drills, I actually do expect Travis Hunter, I could easily be wrong here, but I do expect Travis Hunter to participate in the wide receiver drills and the defensive back drills. So now we're talking about the positional drills, not the testing drills. There's no reason for Travis to go out there and test. He has nothing to prove, but I do think he wants to go number one. And he might want to put on one last show here to try to convince the Tennessee Titans to select him with that first overall pick. Now, the conversation with Travis, as always, is what will he play when he gets to the NFL? The Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski and their GM, they were asked about their interview with Travis Hunter. They obviously said that they're incredibly impressed with him, and they went ahead and said what their plan would be for him. The Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns would have different plans for him. The Browns said that in their opinion, he would be a wide receiver first, and he would play some on defense. And their rationale behind that, I think, is actually pretty strong. You know, they said if he plays corner over the course of the season, he might have the ability to truly impact maybe 30 plays playing corner. Now, that's not technically true because obviously if you're a lockdown corner and you shut down your half the field, you're impacting the game. But what they're referring to by that is he'll probably only have about 30 times the entire season to actually try and get his hands on the ball. Whereas if they put him at the wide receiver position, shoot, he's going to get 11 or 12 opportunities a game to touch that football and make plays with it. The Titans, they don't feel the same. They view him as a corner first and as a wide receiver second. Now, a lot of people are debating whether Travis Hunter can play both ways in the NFL. And in my opinion, it's going to be very, very difficult. Does he have the physical traits, the physical ability to go both ways? Hell yes, he does. Do I think he will be utilized in situations going both ways? Yes, I do. But the amount of reps, the amount of money that these teams invest into these guys, they are very reluctant to have injuries on the amount of investment that they've got in them. You know, Pat Surtain, for example. Could Pat Surtain return punts? Yeah, of course he could, and he'd probably be pretty damn good at it. Maybe even better than our Pro Bowl returner Marvin Mims. Maybe not, but he'd probably be pretty damn good at it. And there's a reason why teams don't put Pat Surtain as a punt returner. I know the Broncos flirted with it during OTAs, but they were never actually considering putting him as a punt returner. The reason they don't put Pat Surtain as the punt returner isn't because he can't do it. It's because they don't want to risk further injury to one of the best players on the football team. So when teams select Travis Hunter number 1 or number 2 overall, they're going to want this dude to be healthy. Technically speaking, a college game versus an NFL game, there's more reps in a college game. I don't know what the numbers are. If I had to guess, there might be as many as 25 or 30 more reps per game in a college game versus the NFL. But there's 5 more games in the NFL than there is in college football. So the amount of total reps that Travis Hunter would have to play if he's going on offense and defense, it just feels insane that anybody would actually let him do it. Travis Hunter doesn't feel that way, though. Travis Hunter feels like he's going both ways, and there ain't nobody that's going to tell him any different. Here's what Travis Hunter had to say about playing both ways in the NFL.
I did some meetings at receiver, did some meetings at DB, so it's still up in the air. They say nobody has ever done it for real the way I do it, but I tell them that I'm just different. I'm a different person.
All right. I'm just different. That's the bottom line for Travis Hunter. He genuinely thinks he can. And he genuinely believes that he will be given the opportunity to play both ways. Now, here's what I think will end up happening. And I could be wrong. Maybe there's a team out there that's going to give him the opportunity to go both ways every single snap of the game. But I think if I were a GM, what I would do, look, just follow the money in the NFL. Wide receivers get paid the most money outside of a quarterback now on any football team. It's freaking insane. It never used to be that way. It used to always be QBs number 1, left tackles number 2, edge rushers number 3, corners number 4, wide receivers number 5. The 5th highest paid players on any team used to be the wide receivers. Not anymore. Now wide receivers are the 2nd highest paid players on any team. Jamar Chase is about to become the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history when he gets his next contract. Teams value dudes that touch the football. Teams value dudes that score points. Now, I personally actually think the amount of money that these wide receivers are getting paid is asinine. I think they're going to hit a bubble in that wide receiver market, just like you're looking at a housing market bubble or something. At some point, these teams are going to look at it. We're paying these wide receivers $35 million a year, and it's the most dependent position on a football team. That seems insane to me. I think it's going to hit a bubble, but we're in the middle of the gold rush for wide receivers. So I think teams are going to value Travis Hunter as a wide receiver. The fluidity of his hips, the separation he can create in his route running, the ball instincts, the soft hands that he's got. I know he's equally as good on defense, and a lot of people would argue that he's better. But the ability to score points is what the NFL values right now. So I think teams will make him an every down wide receiver. And then on defense, okay, well, let's make him our nickel. Let's make him our dime. You know, in the NFL, nowadays, nickel is like your base defense. You get more snaps out of nickel than you do anything else. But we don't need Travis Hunter out there when we're in base defense. We certainly don't need him out there every single rep. So give him maybe half the reps on defense, maybe give him a third of the reps on defense. He'll probably be as good as your number 1 corner on any team that drafts him. So teams are going to want to play him, but you got to manage those. You got to manage those reps. Here's the other thing of it, though. NFL is different than college football. Okay, in college football, there are literal limits on how many hours you can spend in the building every single week. And you don't get to watch a lot of film. Not in the NFL. We spend all day and all night watching film. We spend all day and all night in the meeting room. We show up at 6:30 a.m. and we leave after 5 p.m. and we're out on the practice field for about 2 hours. We go in the weight room for about an hour. We got a lunch in there. And the rest of our day is spent in meetings watching film. I don't know how Travis Hunter could possibly game plan and prepare playing on both sides of the football. Now, nobody's sending this podcast over to Travis Hunter because the last thing I need is Travis Hunter to be ticked off at me. But those are my opinions. I don't think it's going to be feasible for him to play every down on both sides of the ball, and we'll see what team takes him number one. The other interesting nugget, though, before I sign off, Abdul Carter, the edge rusher out of Penn State, who's been far and away predicted to go number one overall to the Tennessee Titans. They just found out at the combine he's got some fracture in his foot that may or may not require surgery. If he does do the surgery, it would require actually inserting a screw into his foot. It sounds like his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, is saying he's not going to choose to do the surgery. But I do wonder if that knocks him out of that spot and it bumps Travis Hunter up to number one overall, go to the Tennessee Titans. It'd be pretty damn cool to see a Colorado Buffalo go number one overall. Okay. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Mount Polumbus Speaks is the podcast. If you haven't subscribed, head on over to my YouTube channel. You can hit the link in my bio on Twitter. Go over to YouTube right now, hit subscribe. It'll take you a total of 3.5 seconds, and you can make sure you don't miss out on my content, and you can help my channel grow. I would really be grateful if you guys would help me out over there on YouTube. If 5 or 6 of you guys could go over and hit like and comment on this video, it does wonders for the algorithm over there. So if you appreciate the content I put out, I'd appreciate you supporting me by helping me grow my YouTube channel. Again, thank you to my title sponsor, Safeway. Thank you to another sponsor, Ascend Barbershop out in Parker. If you need a luxury barber experience,